Epiphone's back with rosewood fretboards. They finally listened. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Epiphone dropped new inspired by Gibson custom shop models. Now let's start tonight's discussion with the one I'm most hyped about, a 1960 special double cut reissue. For $1,000, this looks pretty good and has a few things that the custom shop model doesn't, such as real mother of pearl inlays. That's something that Epiphone's just been doing on all these IPGCs just to give them, something a little special. I really wish they would have took the time to fix the 3-screw truss rod cover with this newest update. There's also been talks that they changed up what style of mahogany they were using, so we'll have to see if we see that in the stock photos and other models. Now this one being TV yellow, you can see some of the wood grain, but not probably the most representative example. But I would say from what I'm seeing here, I'm really impressed by this one. We've got the Gibson P90s with all their fancy upgraded wiring. There's even the binding on the neck. That's gonna be a hot seller for Epiphone. Pretty much the only thing we can complain about now is we don't have fret nibs. Not everybody's gonna love where they're crafted. You'll have to get used to seeing the Epiphone logo and the aforementioned 3-screw truss rod cover. But I'm kind of shocked that this one still comes with a hard shell case. The closest thing within Gibson's regular lineup is the USA version of a Junior, so this only has one pickup, does not have the binding, and is $700 more, and lacks some of those historic features. You could also compare it to the Rick Beato signature. That one's also a special, but it's a satin finish with an artist premium associated with it. Those are $2,000 if you were curious. And then the custom shop version of this usually starts around $4,000. So that's why $1,000, it kind of hits a nice new sweet spot for these. Because a lot of buyers have problems paying $2,000 plus for such a simple guitar. I think the biggest question on this one is it going to intonate properly? Because we've been having some problems with that lately. Man, I'm surprised they even went for the 3-in-a-line tuners. But now look at this, a 59 reissue. Hey, didn't we already have these? Yes, but no. Remember, these now have the rosewood fretboard. The previous ones had Indian laurel. That's why people are losing their minds over this. I kind of feel bad for the people who bought the first run, because these are the exact same price, but perhaps they weren't selling well enough for Epiphone that they felt they needed to add a little bit more value to it. Because another thing they changed is the style of finish they're using on it. Apparently it has a little bit more gloss to it. I'm really hoping that's true, because the one I reviewed, I just didn't really like the overall look of it. I like the open book headstock, as well as how it played, and the mother of pearl inlays were fun, but it just looked kind of cheap yet. But we've got these in washed bourbon burst as well as deep cherry sunburst now. Still with the same Gibson custom bucker pickups, now with the bumblebee caps. And yeah, that wood grain looks a lot more convincing. But extra exciting, if you don't jive with the 59 neck profile, is there's a 1960 reissue now. So these didn't have a prior version. You've got the iced tea burst as well as the washed cherry sunburst with all the other fancy things we were just talking about. These are just looking like they're gonna be very nice player's grade models. I'm excited for people who always wanted a historic, but they couldn't necessarily afford it, because remember, you're still going to have the not exactly perfect plastics. And these are by far not cheap guitars, but they're very highly spec'd. If you are in love with what the custom shop produces, but you don't want to or cannot afford that $6,700 price point. But they added the 60. Did they do a 58? No, but they did do a 57 with the Goldtop dark back. These are $1,300. Being an R7 though, it should have a really big chunky neck profile to it. Everything else will be fairly similar as far as your pickup choices and wiring, etc. But nice choice to make it the slightly darker back, not the super ultra dark. I don't think we've ever seen anything from Epiphone exactly like this particular release. But then if you like semi-hollows, they also brought out a 62 335 style. So this one has your regular cherry finish, as well as vintage burst, which I think I would go for. But it's kind of interesting how these are a little bit cheaper at $1,150. Still has custom bucker pickups though. Because a custom shop one of these guys, they're like, what, $6,000 plus? I would make the argument though that the crown looks like it's a little bit larger than it's supposed to, but the rest is looking pretty good. And then if you're like, hey, where's our fancy SGs? We've got the 64 standard joining the SG custom that we previously had. And hey, we got a left-handed on that one. Not that they took a photo of it, but these are currently only available in cherry red, but I can totally see a Pelham Blue limited edition coming in the future. Something about that Epiphone headstock logo there. On the unbound models, it doesn't look as good in my opinion. It reminds me of a banjo neck. But having the mother of pearl trapezoid inlays on here, that's a lot of fun. I believe the Gibson USA version of this guitar is up to like $2,500 now, where custom shop is probably $5,000 plus. So once again, $1,300 could be considered affordable, especially if you can find a dealer who will give you a discount, or picking one of these things up off the used market in a couple of years. I don't think there's ever been a better time to be looking for a budget-friendly guitar. And I say that with quotes because, let's face it, $1,300 is a lot of money. But would you rather have 2 Schechters or one of these? I could see people going either way on that. It really just depends what guitar comes in your head when you think, I want an electric guitar. And now, yes, they revised the Firebird. We at least have a cardinal for the Firebird 1, but again, they've brought it back with a rosewood fretboard. I did not review this model the first time around because I just didn't think it brought enough value to the table. But now that we know that Gibson USA is not going to make a neck-through Firebird anymore, likely because they're wanting the Epiphone lineup to be the only way to get a traditional neck-through bird outside of the really expensive Gibson custom shop models, I think these will slowly start to become more attractive to a brand new buyer who has to have something like that. It's still a lot of money for a Raptail Piece 1 pickup guitar though. But now that we have the rosewood fretboard, I think that might sway people in this direction just a little bit more. Now, we did review the Firebird 5. Still expensive, as they typically are. I mean, used market, you can definitely get a Gibson Firebird for that. But similar thoughts as before. Now that we've got the rosewood on here, I think people might be convinced to try these. I would really like to see rosewood just come back in general. That way, it's no longer a talking point on Epiphones. I mean, we've seen other manufacturers who have strayed away from rosewood in the past bring it back. So we'll have to see if this is just the beginning of the wave, or are they just going to leave it for the inspired by Gibson custom shop stuff. So to recap, new wood quality, we've got the bumblebee caps, slightly different finish, and the big one is rosewood returns, and we got pretty much all the big models. A double cut special, all the main reissues. Now you can make the argument that the 58 is missing. However, they basically just chose 50s neck, 60s neck, and they just decided to leave that alone to cut down on confusion, would be my guess. And they added a little bit with the semi-hollow, the SG family, and bumped up the other Firebirds. So my biggest question is, what's going to happen to these Laurel fingerboard models? Should we consider these discontinued at this point, and we might see some great blowout deals from dealers who want to move on to the true rosewood fretboard options, or are they really going to run them side by side? Since they're the exact same price, I think we're going to see them blow them out, would be my best educated guess. So if you happen to like one of these other colors better than the others, now would be a good time to hit up your favorite shop. If you're ordering online and would like to support the show, you have a few different options. You can visit the description of any of my videos, click on my affiliate links in this section if you like to shop at Sweetwater or even Guitar Center, and after you click that, that's all you gotta do. Pick what you want, even if that's a pack of strings, and check out on the website without picking up a phone or visiting anywhere. Or visit my website and buy through me on my new Guitar Day service to get your new guitar featured on the show. When it comes to new releases, sometimes I can get around the $1,200 minimum, so feel free to reach out. But overall, my thoughts on this new revamping of it, I think it's great that they went back to the drawing board on the finish. I can't wait to see one of these in person to see, is it actually going to live up to expectations or not? And the return of rosewood, I feel they should have did that to begin with. Continuing with Laurel seemed to be kind of a mistake and scared some people off. But feel free to use the comment section to talk about this amongst yourselves until hopefully we can review some of these. If it comes down to me just purchasing stuff, I'm gonna go for the double cut because I think that's probably one of the better values we've seen in a while. Because I'm like most buyers out there, when I think Epiphone, I think $800 max. So can I stretch a little bit in my head to get to there? It's just a real mental break to start paying the 12 to 13s, which I think these are worth it because it's got the custom Bucker pickups in it. Those in and of themselves are like $600 plus. And then if you count in paying somebody to install those pickups, doing your whole new wiring harness, and then any premium that you may or may not associate in your head with having the open book headstock shape, they do make sense. It's just they're very pricey. But for me, me personally, I still can't get behind the $1,700 Epiphone Firebirds. I'm not quite there mentally yet. But alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. What are you still doing here? Just let me pad out my episode in peace.